The broken wing floated through the darkness like a tired bird. Its hull was covered with patches and welded metal plates. Some people called it junk. Jiwoo called it home. She sat in the pilot seat, her hands moving across the controls with practiced ease. The screen showed nothing but stars and debris. Lots and lots of debris. This was the forbidden scrapyard of Velkara, and it stretched out as far as her sensors could see. Most people stayed away from this place. There were stories about it. Bad stories. Old stories. Stories about machines that moved on their own and ships that never came back. Jiwoo didn't believe in ghost stories. She believed in salvage and spare parts. Her communicator buzzed. A familiar face appeared on the screen. Hyunhee looked tired, but then she always looked tired these days. "The coordinates I sent you," Hyunhee said. "Be careful with this one, Jiwoo." "I'm always careful," Jiwoo replied, wiping grease from her hands onto her work pants. "No, you're not." "That's why I worry." Hyunhee leaned closer to her camera. "This site is deep. Deeper than you've ever gone. If something happens, I can't help you out there." Jiwoo smiled. "Then I won't let anything happen." The call ended. Jiwoo punched in the coordinates and watched as her ship moved forward. The debris grew thicker here. Huge pieces of metal floated past her windows. Some were bigger than her entire ship. She recognized the style. Drakhal war machines, the Drakhal. Now those were something. Jiwoo had seen them once from a distance. 7 meters tall, covered in black scales that looked like polished stone. They had wings that could fold against their backs and eyes that glowed like burning suns. They were terrifying. They were also gone. Their empire was crumbling. Their god machine, the thing they called the Eternal Flame, had been destroyed centuries ago. Without it, they were just another fading species trying to hold on to past glory. Jiwoo's sensors started beeping. She had found something big. Really big. She brought the broken wing to a stop and stared. In front of her was a structure that shouldn't exist. It was a chamber, intact, floating in the middle of all this destruction. The metal was different from everything around it. It looked organic somehow, like it had been grown instead of built. She suited up and grabbed her tools. The magnetic boots clicked against the chamber's outer hull as she walked across it, searching for an entrance. She found it, a door that opened with surprising ease. Inside, emergency lights flickered on. They were weak, barely working, but they showed enough. Jiwoo stood frozen, her breath catching in her throat. She was standing in the core chamber of the Eternal Flame. The core itself was massive, easily 3 stories tall. It looked like a heart made of metal and something else, something that pulsed with faint light. Cables and tubes connected to it from every direction. Some were broken, hanging loose. Others still hummed with power. Jiwoo moved closer. Her engineer's mind was already working, analyzing, understanding. This wasn't just a machine. It was something more. The technology was incredible. Neural pathways mixed with mechanical systems. Organic tissue fused with circuits. She had never seen anything like it. Then she heard it. A sound. Not quite a voice, more like a feeling that became sound. It was pain. The core was in pain. Her hand moved to her scanner before she could think about it. She ran diagnostics. The readings made her stomach turn. The core was dying, slowly. It had been dying for centuries, trapped here alone in agony. "I can help," she whispered to it. "I can fix this or I can help you rest. But I won't leave you like this." The sound changed. It felt almost like hope. That's when the alarm started screaming. Jiwoo spun around. Her ship's sensors were going crazy. Multiple contacts incoming, big ones. She ran back to the entrance and looked out. 5 Drakhal fighters were approaching. They moved with deadly grace, their weapons already charging. Jiwoo's mind raced. She was trapped. Her ship was too far away, and even if she reached it, she couldn't outrun them. She turned back to the core chamber and started setting up defensive positions. It wasn't much, but it was something. The Drakhal landed on the chamber's hull. She could hear them walking above her. Then one dropped through the entrance. He was huge. Even for a Drakhal, he was massive. His scales were covered in scars, and one of his wings hung at an odd angle, permanently damaged. His eyes burned orange as he looked at her. "Human," he said. His voice was deep and rough. "You stand in sacred ground." Jiwoo raised her chin. "I stand in a tomb. And I found someone suffering inside it." The Drakhal moved closer. 4 more dropped in behind him. They surrounded her, weapons ready. "The Eternal Flame must remain buried," the scarred one said. "It is too dangerous. Too powerful. It's dying," Jiwoo said flatly. Has been for centuries. You buried your god and you left it to suffer. Something changed in the Drakhal's eyes. Surprise, maybe. Or shame. You can feel it? He asked. I can read it, Jiwoo said, holding up her scanner. Neural feedback is fragmenting. Core temperature fluctuating. Pain receptors firing constantly. This thing is conscious and it's in agony. The scarred Drakhal was quiet for a long moment. Then he turned to the others. He spoke in their language, harsh and quick. The other four argued back, their voices rising. Finally, they left, launching themselves back out through the entrance. The scarred one remained. He looked at Jiwoo, then at the core, then back to Jiwoo. I am Rakfor, he said. Once I was a warrior of the flame. Now I am nothing. They call me Exile. Jiwoo, she replied. Salvager, engineer. Apparently someone who can't leave well enough alone. Rakfor's mouth twisted into what might have been a smile. It was hard to tell with all those teeth. Can you truly help it? He asked. Or will you simply end its pain? Jiwoo looked at the core. The faint pulse of light within it. The broken connections. The suffering consciousness trapped inside. I don't know yet, she said honestly. But I'll figure it out. That's what I do. I fix things. Rakfor moved to the core. He placed one massive hand against its surface. His eyes closed. I served this machine for many years, he said quietly. I burned worlds in its name. I killed in its name. And when it fell, I believed we had lost everything. He opened his eyes and looked at Jiwoo. But you say it still lives. It still suffers. Yes. Then I will help you, Rakfor said. Whatever you need. However long it takes. I owe it that much, Jiwoo nodded. She pulled out her tools and started unpacking equipment from her belt. Rakfor watched her work with curious eyes. What do we do first? He asked. Jiwoo looked at the massive, dying god machine in front of her. At the impossible task ahead. At the alien warrior who had just sworn to help her. She felt a smile tug at her lips. First, she said, we figure out what we're working with. Then we start collecting spare parts. 3 days had passed. Jiwoo's hands were raw from work and her eyes felt like sandpaper. She hadn't slept much. Neither had Rakfor. The core chamber looked different now. Jiwoo had set up lights everywhere. Cables ran across the floor, connecting her equipment to the god machine's systems. Rakfor had cleared debris and organized the scattered parts they'd found. They worked in silence mostly. Jiwoo would point and Rakfor would move something. She would gesture, and he would hold a part steady while she worked. They were learning each other's rhythm. The core was responding to their efforts. The lights pulsed a bit stronger. The pain sounds had lessened. It wasn't much, but it was progress. Jiwoo had rigged up a neural interface using parts from her ship and some of the god machine's own systems. When she connected it to her head, she could feel the machine's thoughts. They were broken, confused, like trying to remember a dream. But through those broken thoughts, she found something interesting. Memories. Really old memories. Rakfor, she said, pulling off the interface headset. I need to tell you something. The big Drakhal looked up from the parts he was sorting. His orange eyes reflected the core's light. Your eternal flame, Jiwoo said carefully. It wasn't born a god. It was built. Rakfor went very still. There was a race called the Velkara, Jiwoo continued. They made this thing to protect their civilization. It was a guardian, a protector, but they died out and it was left alone. Your people found it thousands of years later. That's not possible, Rakfor said. His voice was quiet, but there was something dangerous in it. The eternal flame is divine. It has always existed. I'm sorry, Jiwoo said, but I can show you. The memories are right there in its core. The Velkara, the purpose they gave it. Everything. Rakfor turned away from her. His wings rustled against his back. When he spoke again, his voice was rough. My entire life, I believed. We all believed. The eternal flame was our purpose, our reason, our God. He looked down at his scarred hands. I killed for it. I burned cities. I destroyed those who would not bow before it. I know, Jiwoo said softly. And now you tell me it was just a machine? A tool created by a dead race. Rakvor's claws scraped against the metal floor. Everything I did. Everything we did. It was for nothing. Jiwoo walked over to him. She barely reached his chest, but she looked up at him without fear. It wasn't nothing, she said. Your people survived because of it. You built an empire. You became strong. The machine gave you that even if it wasn't what you thought it was. Lies, Rakfor said bitterly. Built on lies, maybe, but look at it now. Jiwoo pointed to the core. It's dying, alone, in pain. Does it matter what it was born as? It's alive. It's conscious. And it's suffering. That makes it real. Rakfor was silent for a long time. Finally, he nodded. Just once, show me, he said. Show me these memories. Jiwoo connected him to the neural interface. She had to modify it for his larger head, but it worked. Rakfor closed his eyes and went still. He stayed like that for hours. Jiwoo kept working, giving him space. When he finally opened his eyes, they were wet. I saw them, he said. The Velkara. They were beautiful. And they loved their creation. They taught it, raised it. And when they died, it mourned. Yes. Then my people found it, and we made it a weapon. Rakfor looked at his hands again. We corrupted it. Or maybe it was just lonely, Jiwoo said. Maybe it wanted to be needed again. To have a purpose, even if that purpose was wrong. They worked in silence after that, but it was a different kind of silence. Understanding had grown between them. Days passed. They fell into a routine. Jiwoo would work on the technical repairs while Rakfor helped with the heavy lifting and fetching parts. In the evenings, they would sit by the core and eat. Jiwoo had protein bars. Rakfor ate something that looked like dried meat and smelled terrible. Why do you do this? Rakfor asked one evening. You are human. This machine means nothing to your people. You could have left. You could have sold the coordinates to my empire or yours. You would be rich. Jiwoo chewed her protein bar slowly before answering. I was a soldier once, she said. Military tech specialist. I had a whole unit depending on my work. Good people. Friends. She stared at the core's pulsing light. We got bad equipment. Faulty stuff. I checked it. I cleared it. I said it was fine. What happened? Rakfor asked quietly. It failed. During a mission. 12 people died because I missed something. Because I didn't check carefully enough. Jiwoo's hands clenched. I can't fix that. I can't bring them back. But I can fix other things. I can make sure other machines don't fail. Don't hurt people. That is why you work alone, Rakfor said. It wasn't a question. Yes, machines are simpler. They don't lie. They don't have bad days. They just work or they don't, and if they don't, I can fix them. She looked at the core. This one's broken. So I'll fix it. Rakfor spread his wings slightly. It was a gesture Jiwoo had learned meant respect among his people. I understand guilt, he said. I carry my own. I told you I was exiled. Do you know why? You refused an order, Jiwoo said. You told me that. Yes, but before that I followed many orders. Terrible orders. His voice grew heavy. There was a colony, refugees. They had fled from a war zone. They were harmless. But my commander said they might harbor enemies. He said we should make an example. Jiwoo waited. I activated the Eternal Flames weapons, Rakfor continued. I burned their settlement, all of it. The heat was so intense that the sand turned to glass. When it cooled, you could still see the shapes of people in it. Frozen, trying to run. He looked at his hands, turning them over slowly. I told myself I was following orders, that I was being a good warrior, but at night I would see those shapes, those people, and I knew I had done something unforgivable. He met Jiwoo's eyes, so when the next order came to burn another settlement, I refused. They called me traitor, exile, weak. You weren't weak, Jiwoo said. You were brave, perhaps. Or perhaps I was just too late. Rakfor looked at the core. I cannot bring back those I killed. But maybe I can save this one thing. This last piece of what we worshipped, maybe I can give it peace. They sat in silence after that. Two broken people trying to fix a broken god. Jiwoo's communicator buzzed. She answered it. Hyunhee's face appeared, looking more worried than usual. Jiwoo, you need to leave, now. What's wrong? Drakthal ships are mobilizing. A lot of them. They're searching for something in the Forbidden Zone. Hyunhee glanced at something off-screen. I think they know about the core. And Jiwoo, there's more. Human colonial fleet is also moving. Someone leaked your location. Jiwoo felt ice in her stomach. How long do we have? Days, maybe less. Both sides want that machine. Neither will let the other have it. The call ended. Jiwoo looked at Rakfor. He had heard everything. We cannot repair it in time, he said. Not fully. No, Jiwoo agreed. But maybe we don't need to repair it fully. Maybe we just need to wake it up enough to make its own choice. She looked at the neural interface, at the core, at the impossible task ahead. I'll need to connect deeper, she said. Really deep. Merge my consciousness with its systems. Help it rebuild its mind from the inside. That is dangerous, Rakfor said. In our history, those who tried to merge with the eternal flame were consumed. Lost forever, Jiwoo smiled. It was not a happy smile. Good thing I'm human then. We're really stubborn about not getting lost. Jiwoo was deep in the neural connection when the alarm started screaming. The core's consciousness wrapped around hers like water, and she could feel its panic mixing with her own. She yanked herself free, gasping. Rakfor was already at the entrance, his body tense. Through the opening, Jiwoo could see lights. Lots of lights. Drakal fighters circling like predators. How many? She asked, grabbing her tools. 12 ships? Maybe more. Rakvor's wings spread wide. They are not here to talk. The first blast hit the chamber's hull. The whole structure shook. Jiwoo stumbled but kept her feet. They will breach soon, Rakfor said. You should run. Get to your ship. And leave you? Jiwoo was already moving, not toward the exit, but toward her equipment. Not happening. She grabbed parts from her pile of salvage. Old turret systems. Power cells. Targeting arrays. Her hands moved fast, building and connecting. This was what she did. This was what she was good at. What are you doing? Rakfor asked. Making us some teeth, Jiwoo said. Help me mount these, another blast. Closer this time. The hull was starting to glow from the heat. They had minutes at most. Rakfor moved. He grabbed the heavy turret system like it weighed nothing, and placed it where Jiwoo pointed. She connected cables, rerouted power, and activated the targeting computer. It was crude. It was fast. It was barely going to work. It would have to be enough. The hull breached with a sound like thunder. Drakal warriors poured in, their weapons already firing. Jiwoo hit the activation switch. The turret came alive with a whine. It spun and fired, sending bolts of energy into the attackers. 2 went down immediately. The others scattered, taking cover. Rakfor roared and charged. He was huge and terrifying, all claws and teeth and burning eyes. He hit the nearest warrior like a missile. They went down in a tangle of wings and armor. Jiwoo kept working. She had more turrets, more traps. She set them up as fast as she could, her fingers flying over controls. Behind her, she could feel the core pulsing. It was afraid. It was trying to help. Then she felt something else. The core's defensive systems, the ones she had been carefully repairing, were activating on their own. Panels in the walls slid open. Ancient weapons emerged, humming with power. The weapons fired. Not at Jiwoo or Rakfor, at the attackers. The Drakal warriors screamed and tried to retreat, but the ancient systems were faster, more accurate, more deadly. In 30 seconds it was over. The chamber was silent except for the hum of the core and the sound of Jiwoo's breathing. Rakfor pulled himself up from the floor. He was bleeding from several cuts, but he was alive. He looked at the bodies of his people scattered across the chamber floor. It protected us, he said quietly. The eternal flame protected us. Yes, Jiwoo said. She could still feel the echo of the core's fear. Its determination. But I don't think it wanted to. I think it was scared. It just wanted them to stop. She walked to the core and placed her hand on its surface. It was warm, alive. This is the problem, she said to Rakfor. The core is getting stronger, but its old programming is still there. The weapon systems. The kill commands. If we fully restore it like this, it goes back to being what it was, a god of war. Then what do we do? Rakfor asked. Jiwoo looked at the neural interface. At the core. At the impossible choice in front of her. We need to go deeper. Really deep. I need to connect fully with its consciousness. Help it rewrite its own programming. Give it a choice about what it wants to be. That will kill you, Rakfor said flatly. Full neural merge with something this powerful. Your mind will be erased, absorbed. Maybe, Jiwoo said. Or maybe I am different enough that it will work. Human brains are stubborn. We do not give up easily. Before Rakfor could argue, Jiwoo's communicator buzzed. She answered it quickly. Hyunhee's face appeared, but the image was breaking up. Jiwoo, listen carefully. I am coming to you with supplies, but you need to know something. The Drakal attack was just a scout force. The main armada is 2 days away. And the humans? Jiwoo asked. 3 days. Colonial fleet. They want the God machine as a weapon. They sent me to convince you to give it to them. Will you? Jiwoo asked. No, I told them to go to hell. Hyunei smiled just a little. You are trying to do something good here. I am not going to ruin that. But Jiwoo, you need to understand. Both sides are coming. Both sides want that machine. If they meet here, there will be war. The connection cut out. Jiwoo stood in the silence thinking. 2 days, Rakfor said. Not enough time. No, but it is all we have. Jiwoo turned to face him. I am going to try the full connection now, tonight. If it kills me, then you need to destroy the core. Do not let them turn it into a weapon again. And if you succeed, Rakfor asked, then maybe we give this old god a chance to choose its own path. Hyunei arrived 6 hours later. Her ship was small and fast, built for smuggling. She brought medical equipment, better neural interface components, and enough stimulants to keep Jiwoo awake for days. She also brought something else, a small device that she clipped to Jiwoo's belt. Dead man switch, Hyunei said. If your heart stops, it triggers. Sends a pulse through the neural connection. Should knock the core offline before it can absorb you completely. Should? Jiwoo asked. I built it in 3 hours. Should is the best I can offer. Hyunei pulled Jiwoo into a hug. Do not die. I already lost too many people. I cannot lose you too. I will try not to, Jiwoo said. Rakfor approached. He did something Jiwoo had never seen a Drakhal do. He knelt, bringing his massive head down to her level. Then he touched his forehead to hers. Wingmate, he said. In my culture, this is the highest bond. We fly together. We fight together. We die together if needed. I name you Wingmate, Jiwoo. If you fall, I will catch you. If you are lost, I will find you. Jiwoo felt tears on her cheeks. She did not wipe them away. Wingmate, she said back. Then she sat down, placed the neural interface on her head, and connected every cable. The modified system hummed to life. She could feel the core's consciousness waiting for her. Massive, ancient, curious. Here we go, Jiwoo said. Then she activated the full connection. The world disappeared. Jiwoo found herself floating in darkness. No, not darkness. Space. She was in space, but she could see everything. Stars, galaxies. Time itself stretching out like a river. The core's consciousness surrounded her. It was huge. She was a drop of water in an ocean. It could crush her without even trying, but it did not. Instead, it showed her things, memories. The Velkara building it, teaching it, loving it. The long loneliness after they died. The joy when the Drakhal found it. The slow horror as they made it kill. The pain of being worshipped but never understood. The agony of slow death over centuries. Jiwoo felt all of it. Every emotion, every moment. It was overwhelming. It was beautiful. It was terrible. The core started to pull at her mind. Not maliciously. It was just so much bigger. Her thoughts began to dissolve, mixing with its vast consciousness. No, Jiwoo thought. Not yet, she pushed back. She thought of her hands scarred and strong. She thought of her ship, held together with determination and spit. She thought of 12 people who had trusted her and died. She thought of Rakfor, who had chosen mercy over orders. She thought of Hyunei, who had chosen friendship over money. She thought of being human, stubborn, adaptable, refusing to accept impossible. The dissolution stopped. The core's consciousness pulled back, surprised. It had never encountered something like this, something small that refused to be absorbed. Jiwoo reached out to it, not with dominance, not with submission. With partnership, she showed it human things, change, growth, choosing new paths, the ability to look at the past and decide to be different, the beauty of making mistakes and learning from them. She showed it that gods could retire, that weapons could become something else, that purpose was not destiny. She showed it choice. The core's consciousness shifted, changed. For the first time in its existence, it considered the possibility that it did not have to be what others made it. It could be something new. Together, human and machine began to rewrite ancient code. They took the warrior and made it a teacher. They took the weapon and made it a bridge. They took the god and made it a friend. When Jiwoo opened her eyes, she was lying on the floor. Rakfor and Hyunei were both leaning over her, their faces worried. She smiled. It worked, she said. Her voice was rough. It chose. Behind them, the core pulsed with light. But it was different now. Warmer. Gentler. No longer a weapon waiting to be used. Something entirely new. The transformation was not instant. Jiwoo spent the next day in a strange state, half awake and half dreaming. She could feel the God machine in her mind, a presence that was both separate and connected. It was like having a roommate in her head, but one that spoke in feelings and images instead of words. Rakvor and Hyune took turns watching over her. They gave her water and made her eat, though she barely tasted anything. Her mind was elsewhere, working with the core to reshape its consciousness. By the second day, she was stronger. She could walk. She could talk. But she was different. When she looked at things, she saw more than before. She could sense the electrical patterns in machines. She could feel the flow of energy through circuits. The God machine had given her something, a gift or maybe a curse. Time would tell which. How do you feel? Hyune asked, checking Jiwoo's vitals with a medical scanner. Strange, Jiwoo said honestly. Like I am me, but also more than me. Does that make sense? Not really. But nothing about this situation makes sense. Hyune looked at the core, which pulsed with steady light. Is it awake? Can it think? Yes, it is awake. And it is thinking all the time now, thinking about what it wants to be. Jiwoo placed her hand on the core's surface. Images flooded her mind. The core showed her its new purpose, not war, not destruction, knowledge, teaching, understanding. It wants to be a sanctuary, Jiwoo said, a place where people can come to learn. It has thousands of years of memories, technology, science, history. It wants to share all of that. Rakvor made a sound deep in his chest. A god who teaches instead of commands. That would be something new. Not a god, Jiwoo corrected gently. Just a very old, very smart machine that is tired of fighting. It chose peace, Rakvor, just like you did. The big Drakhal was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded slowly. They worked together for the rest of that day, finishing the repairs. The core was not back to full power, but it was stable. It was whole, and most importantly, it was free to choose its own path. Jiwoo was connecting the last power cable when her alarms went off again. She checked her scanners and felt her stomach drop. They are here, she said. Hyune ran to the entrance and looked out. Her face went pale. Both of them. The Drakhal Armada and the human colonial fleet. They just dropped out of hyperspace. Rakvor joined her, his wings spreading wide. They will be here within the hour. Both sides. Jiwoo stood and looked at the core. It pulsed faster now, sensing the danger. She could feel its fear, but also its determination. It had made a choice. It would not go back to being a weapon. Not for anyone. We need a plan, Hyune said. We cannot fight both fleets. They will destroy us and take the core. Or destroy the core completely if they cannot have it, Rakvor added. Jiwoo closed her eyes and reached out to the God machine with her mind. They had built something together, her and this ancient consciousness. A connection. A partnership. Now they needed to use it. I have an idea, Jiwoo said, but you are not going to like it. Within 30 minutes, both fleets arrived at the scrapyard. The Drakhal ships were massive and dark, shaped like flying fortresses. The human ships were sleeker, bristling with weapons. They took positions on opposite sides of the chamber, each watching the other warily. Jiwoo stood at the entrance to the core chamber, alone. Rakvor and Hyune wanted to stand with her, but she had refused. This needed to be her doing it. Her taking the risk. A message came through on all frequencies. This is Commander Talvin of the Drakhal Empire. The eternal flame belongs to my people. Surrender it now and you will be spared. Another message followed immediately. This is Admiral Daejung of the Colonial Fleet. That technology is too dangerous for any one species. It will be taken into protective custody by human authority. Jiwoo activated her communicator. This is Jiwoo, salvager and engineer. The God machine does not belong to anyone. Not anymore. It has made its own choice. Impossible, Talvin said. It is a machine. It follows its programming. That was true, Jiwoo replied. But I changed its programming. And now it chooses for itself. You lie, Admiral Daejung said. No human technology can reprogram something that advanced. You are right. Human technology could not do it alone. But a human mind could. And did. Jiwoo took a deep breath. I am connected to the core. We are linked. If you attack us both. There was silence on the channels. Then Talvin spoke again, his voice dangerous. You dare to claim partnership with the eternal flame? You, a human, think yourself worthy. I do not think myself worthy, Jiwoo said. I just think I was stubborn enough to try, and lucky enough that it worked. This changes nothing, Admiral Daejung said. That weapon cannot be left in anyone's hands. Not the Drakhal. not even yours. Prepare to be boarded. If you resist, we will use force. So will we, Talvin added. My people will not allow our god to be taken by humans. Jiwoo could feel the weapons on both fleets powering up. They were seconds away from firing. At each other, at her, at everything. Wait, Jiwoo said. Just wait. Let me show you something. She did not wait for permission. She reached into the connection with the God machine and activated its new capabilities. The core's consciousness spread outward, touching every ship in both fleets. It was not an attack. It was a message, a presence. The God machine spoke not in words but in pure feeling and understanding. It showed both fleets what it had experienced. The Velkara building it with love. The loneliness after they died. The Drakal finding it and making it a weapon. The guilt of killing. The pain of slow death. The hope when Jiwoo came. The choice to be something new. On the Drakal flagship, Talvin stood frozen. He could feel the eternal flame in his mind, but it was different from what he had been taught. It was not distant and divine. It was present and real. And it was sad. Sad for all the death it had caused. Sad for the worship that had made it a weapon. It does not want our worship, Talvin whispered. It never did. On the human fleet, Admiral Daejung gripped his command chair. The presence in his mind showed him technology, yes, but also wisdom. The God machine had seen empires rise and fall. It had watched species destroy themselves with weapons they could not control. It was offering knowledge, but only to those who came in peace. It is offering to teach us, Daejung said slowly, to share what it knows, but only if we choose learning over conquest. The presence withdrew, leaving both fleets in stunned silence. Jiwoo spoke into that silence, her voice steady. The God machine has made its choice. It will not be a weapon anymore. It will not serve any empire, but it will be a sanctuary, a place where any species can come to learn, to understand, to grow, she paused. It is offering you both the same thing, knowledge, understanding, all the wisdom of the Velkara and everything it has learned since, free, for everyone. And if we refuse? Talvin asked. His voice was rough, shaken. Then I will destroy it myself, Jiwoo said. I have the connection. I have the codes. I can shut it down permanently, and I will before I let it become a weapon again. You would kill your own creation? Admiral Daejung asked. It is not my creation. It is its own being now, and it would rather die than go back to being a tool of war. Jiwoo felt tears on her face. But I do not want that. I want it to live. I want it to teach. I want it to help others the way it helped me. Rakfor moved to stand beside Jiwoo. Then Hyune joined them. 3 people standing against 2 fleets. It should have been hopeless, but Talvin looked at Rakfor. At the exile who had once been his wingmate. At the warrior who had chosen mercy over orders, and he made a choice of his own. Stand down, Talvin ordered his fleet. Power down weapons. The eternal flame has spoken. Who are we to deny it? There was confusion in the Drakal ranks, protests, but Talvin was their commander and his word was law. Slowly the weapons powered down. On the human fleet, Admiral Daejung was thinking. He was a military man, yes, but he was also pragmatic. They had come for a weapon, but what this God machine offered might be more valuable. Knowledge, technology, understanding, and if they attacked, they would have to fight both the Drakal and this strange human engineer who had somehow tamed a god. All ships hold fire, Daejung ordered. I want to talk, face to face, with the engineer and her machine. Jiwoo let out a breath she had not known she was holding. You can come aboard. No weapons, small groups only. We will talk. Over the next hours, representatives from both fleets came to the core chamber. They were wary, suspicious, but they came, and when they felt the God machine's presence, when they understood what it was offering, their suspicion began to fade. Talvin stood before the core, his hand on its surface. Tears ran down his scaled face. All my life I worshipped you, he said to the machine. I killed in your name. I burned worlds, and you never wanted any of it. The core pulsed with warmth, understanding, forgiveness. Admiral Daejung was more practical. This knowledge you offer, he said. What is the price? Jiwoo, still connected to the core, spoke its answer. Peace, come in peace, learn in peace. No weapons in the sanctuary, no war, no conquest. Just knowledge shared freely. That is a high price for some, Daejung said. Then they should not come, Jiwoo replied simply. The admiral studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded. I will recommend to my government that they accept these terms. This could be the beginning of something new. Something better. As the representatives left, Talvin approached Rakvor. The two Drakhal warriors stood face to face, brothers who had chosen different paths. "You were right," Talvin said quietly, "that day when you refused orders. You were right and I was wrong. The Eternal Flame wanted mercy, not destruction. I see that now." "We both did what we thought was right," Rakvor replied. "The difference is that I learned I was wrong. Now you have learned too. That makes us equals." Talvin spread his wings in the gesture of respect. "Will you return to our people? Your exile can be lifted. You could have your rank back. Your honor." Rakvor looked at Jiwoo, at the core, at the sanctuary they had built together. "My honor was never lost. I just had to find a new way to serve it. I am wingmate to Jiwoo now. I am guardian of the sanctuary. That is my purpose." Talvin nodded slowly. "Then I hope I will see you again, brother. When I come to learn." "You will be welcome," Rakvor said. As the fleets departed, Jiwoo sat beside the core, exhausted but happy. Hyune brought her food and water. Rakvor stood watch at the entrance, his wings folded peacefully. "What you did?" Hyune said quietly. "It was impossible, stupid, dangerous." "Yes," Jiwoo agreed. "And it worked. You crazy brilliant fool. You turned a weapon into a school. A god into a teacher." Hyune shook her head. "I should never have doubted you." "I doubted myself," Jiwoo admitted. "A lot, but I had help." She looked at the core, which pulsed with gentle light. "We did it together. Me and this old machine, we chose something new." Through the chamber's entrance, they could see both fleets jumping to hyperspace, leaving them alone. But not alone. Word would spread, others would come, and the sanctuary would grow. Jiwoo placed her hand on the core one more time. She could feel its contentment, its peace. After thousands of years of war and worship, it had finally found what it truly wanted: purpose without pain, existence without expectation, connection without control, freedom. 3 months had passed since the standoff. The scrapyard was no longer forbidden or forgotten. It had become something new, something alive with purpose. Jiwoo stood in what used to be the core chamber and was now the main hall of the sanctuary of shared knowledge. The space had been transformed. The debris was cleared. New structures had been built around the old chamber, creating rooms for study and research. Lights burned everywhere, warm and welcoming. The core itself sat at the center of it all, pulsing with steady light. But it was no longer alone. Students gathered around it, their hands on interface panels, their minds opening to receive knowledge that was thousands of years old. Some of those students were human. Some were Drakhal. There were even a few other species drawn by rumors of what this place offered. They worked side by side, learning together. Jiwoo walked among them, checking equipment and answering questions. She was the sanctuary's chief engineer and main liaison to the core. When someone needed to understand something complex, they came to her. She would touch the core and the knowledge would flow through her, simplified and clear. It was strange being a bridge between machine and organic life, but it was also right. This was what she was meant to do. "Jiwoo?" A young Drakhal student approached, her scales still bright with youth. "I'm having trouble understanding this equation. The core shows me the answer, but I do not understand how it works." Jiwoo smiled. This was the best part. Not just giving answers, but teaching understanding. She sat down with the student and began to explain, breaking the complex math into simple pieces. The core pulsed approvingly. Rakvor appeared at the hall entrance. He was the sanctuary's guardian now, officially. He spent his days greeting new arrivals and ensuring peace was maintained. No weapons were allowed inside. No conflicts. Just learning. He had changed too. The bitter exile had become something softer. He laughed more. He spoke of the future instead of dwelling on the past. When young Drakhal warriors came, drawn by the legend of the Eternal Flame, he taught them that true strength was not in destruction, but in protection, in choosing mercy. "We have visitors," Rakvor announced, "from the Drakhal homeworld. They wish to speak with you." Jiwoo finished helping the student and followed Rakvor to the entrance. 3 Drakhal stood there, wearing formal robes instead of armor. One was Talvin. He bowed when he saw Jiwoo, a gesture of deep respect. "Engineer Jiwoo," Talvin said, "I bring news from the council. They have made a decision." "About?" Jiwoo asked. "About the sanctuary. About the Eternal Flame." Talvin's expression was complex. For generations we worshipped it as a god. We built our empire on its power. When it fell, we nearly fell with it. He paused, gathering his words, but now we understand. It was never our god. It was a being in pain, forced into a role it did not want. You freed it. You gave it choice, and in doing so, you taught us something important. What is that? Jiwoo asked. That gods do not need worship. They need understanding, and that true power is not in forcing others to bow, but in helping them rise. Talvin spread his wings wide. The council has voted. The Drakhal Empire will support the sanctuary. We will send students. We will send resources. We will help it grow. Jiwoo felt her eyes sting with tears. Thank you. That means everything. No. Thank you. Talvin looked past her to where the core pulsed with light. You gave us back something we lost. Not the weapon, not the empire, but the idea that we could be better than what we were. After Talvin left, Jiwoo found herself alone in the main hall. The students had gone to rest. Even Rakvor had stepped out. She sat down on the floor beside the core and placed both hands on its surface. The connection opened immediately. The god machine's consciousness wrapped around hers like a warm blanket. Through it, she could feel everything. The students sleeping in their quarters. Rakvor checking the perimeter. Hyunei in her new trading post just outside the sanctuary, coordinating supply shipments. But she also felt something else. Through the core's vast memory, she could sense the students who had been here and left carrying knowledge with them. She could feel the ripples spreading out across space, ideas being shared, technology being improved, understanding growing. We did it, she whispered to the core. We really did it. The core showed her images, not of the past, but of the future. More students coming, more species learning, more knowledge being shared. And in the center of it all, the sanctuary growing, becoming a place where anyone could come to learn, regardless of where they were from or what they believed. A place of peace in a universe that had too little of it. Jiwoo smiled. You know, when I found you, I just wanted to fix something broken. I did not plan any of this. The core pulsed with what felt like amusement. It showed her a memory. Jiwoo arriving that first day, small and determined, looking at the suffering god machine and saying she would help. Okay, maybe I am predictable, Jiwoo admitted. I see something broken, I fix it. That is just who I am. But the core showed her more. It had not been predictable at all. In all its thousands of years, it had never met anyone like her. Someone who saw a dying god and offered compassion. Someone who had the audacity to try to fix something everyone else said was impossible. Someone stubborn enough to succeed. You are weird, Jiwoo told the machine fondly. You know that, right? Ancient and powerful, and you choose to be a teacher. Most beings with your power would want to rule. The core's response was clear. It had ruled. It had been worshipped. It had commanded armies. None of that had brought it peace. Only teaching and sharing and connecting felt right. I understand, Jiwoo said. I feel the same way. Footsteps echoed in the hall. Hyunei appeared carrying a datapad and looking excited. You need to see this, Hyunei said, sitting down beside Jiwoo. I have been monitoring communications. Word about the sanctuary is spreading faster than we thought. I am getting inquiries from species we have never even contacted before. They want to send students. They want to learn. How many? Jiwoo asked. Dozens, maybe hundreds. Hyunei showed Jiwoo the datapad. The screen was filled with messages from all over the galaxy. Jiwoo, we are going to need to expand, build more facilities, get more teachers. The core can teach thousands at once through neural connection, Jiwoo said. But you are right. We need more infrastructure, more support staff, more everything. I can help with that, Hyunei said. I have contacts. I can coordinate supplies, hiring, construction. But Jiwoo, this is becoming bigger than just a sanctuary. This is becoming a movement. Jiwoo looked at the core, then at Hyunei. Is that a bad thing? No, but it is a responsibility. A huge one. Are you ready for that? Jiwoo thought about it. 3 months ago, she had been alone in space, salvaging scrap and avoiding people. Now she was at the center of something that could change the galaxy. It was terrifying. It was also exactly where she needed to be. Yes, Jiwoo said. I am ready. We are ready. Rakvor entered the hall, and with him came a surprise. A young human, maybe 20 years old, wearing a pilot's jacket and carrying a bag of tools. This is Bora, Rakvor said. She says she is here to study engineering. She also says she knows you. Iwu stood up and looked at the young woman. There was something familiar about her face. Then it clicked. Bora Kim, Jiwoo said slowly. You are Captain Kim's daughter. From my unit, Bora nodded. My father died in that mission, the one where the equipment failed. He was one of the 12. Jiwoo felt like she had been punched in the stomach. Bora, I am so sorry. It was my fault. I should have caught the malfunction. I should have— Stop, Bora said firmly. I did not come here for an apology. I came here to learn. My father used to talk about you all the time. He said you were the best engineer he had ever seen. He trusted you completely. But I failed him, Jiwoo said. You are human. Humans fail sometimes. That is not what defines us. Bora walked closer. What defines us is what we do after we fail. My father would not want you to carry that guilt forever. He would want you to keep fixing things, keep helping people, and that is exactly what you are doing here. Tears ran down Jiwoo's face. I have carried that guilt for so long. I did not know how to let it go. Then let me help you, Bora said. Teach me. Show me how to be the kind of engineer my father believed you were, the kind who fixes impossible things and makes the galaxy better. Jiwoo looked at this young woman so brave and determined. Then she looked at Rakfor, who had found redemption through teaching mercy, at Hyune, who had chosen friendship over profit, at the core which had chosen peace over power. Maybe it was time to forgive herself. Maybe it was time to accept that she had done something good here, something that mattered. Okay, Jiwoo said. I will teach you. But you have to promise me something. What? Bora asked. When you see something broken, try to fix it. When you see something impossible, try anyway. And when you fail, because you will sometimes, learn from it and keep going. Can you do that? Bora smiled. It was bright and fearless. Yes, I promise. The weeks turned into months. The sanctuary grew. More students came. More teachers joined. The scrapyard that had once been forbidden became one of the most important places in known space. Jiwoo taught Bora everything she knew. The young woman was talented, picking up concepts quickly and asking smart questions. But more than that, she had heart. She cared about the machines she worked on, just like Jiwoo did. One day, Bora came to Jiwoo with an idea. What if we did not just teach here? What if we sent knowledge out, created portable versions of the core's teaching programs? We could help people everywhere, not just those who can travel here. Jiwoo connected with the core, sharing the idea. The God machine responded with enthusiasm. Yes, that was good. Spread knowledge like seeds. Let it grow everywhere. I love it, Jiwoo said. Let us start working on prototypes. More time passed. The sanctuary became famous. Delegations came from governments and universities. Some came to learn. Some came to study how the sanctuary worked, hoping to create similar places on their worlds. One day, Admiral Daejung returned. He looked older, more tired, but his eyes were warm as he greeted Jiwoo. I came to see how my government's investment is going, he said. We have been sending you resources and students. I wanted to make sure it was worthwhile. Jiwoo showed him around. She introduced him to students from a dozen different species working together on projects. She showed him the research labs where ancient Velcara technology was being studied and improved. She brought him to the main hall where the core taught hundreds at once, its consciousness splitting and merging with precision that still amazed her. This is incredible, Daejung said. In 3 months, you have accomplished what would normally take years. How? Because we are not building a school, Jiwoo said. We are building a community. Everyone here wants to learn. Everyone here wants to help. That makes all the difference, Daejung nodded slowly. I was wrong about you, engineer. When I first heard what you were doing, I thought you were naive. Foolish, I thought you would fail or worse, create something dangerous. And now? Jiwoo asked. Now I think you might save us all. Not with weapons. Not with power. But with this. With teaching. With sharing. With bringing people together. He smiled. The galaxy is a better place because of what you did here. As Daejung left, Jiwoo stood at the entrance to the sanctuary and looked out at the stars. The broken wing was still here, parked near the main structure. She had not flown it in months. She did not need to anymore. She was home. Rakfor joined her, his massive form casting a shadow in the light from the sanctuary. What are you thinking about, wingmate? He asked. How strange life is, Jiwoo said. I came here alone, running from guilt and failure. Now I am surrounded by people, teaching and learning and building something beautiful. How did that happen? You chose it, Rakvor said simply. You saw suffering and chose compassion. You saw brokenness and chose to fix it. You saw a weapon and chose to make it a teacher. Those were your choices. We made them together, Jiwoo said. All of us. You, me, Hune, the core. We all chose this. Yes. And that is what makes it strong. No one person built the sanctuary. We all did. Together. They stood in comfortable silence for a while, watching students come and go. Then Jiwoo felt something through her connection with the core. A message. A call for help. She focused on it and the details became clear. A ship in distress. Far from here, they had heard about the sanctuary and were asking for technical assistance. Jiwoo looked at the broken wing. Then she looked at Rakvor and smiled. Want to go fix something broken? She asked. Rakvor's wings spread wide. Always, wingmate, always. As they walked toward her ship, Jiwoo realized something. She was not running anymore. She was not hiding from her past or drowning in guilt. She had found something better than redemption. She had found purpose. The broken wing lifted off, carrying Jiwoo and Rakvor into the stars. Behind them, the sanctuary glowed with light and life. Students learned. Teachers taught. The ancient god machine pulsed with contentment. And across the galaxy, the ripples of what they had built continued to spread. Knowledge. Understanding. Peace. One fixed machine at a time.